Lucy McKenna. Welcome, Lucy. Thank you very much. Yeah, very excited to have you here and to talk with us all. So look, for those of you who don't know Lucy, I'm sure everybody that's from Belfast does know Lucy. But for those of you who don't and are coming at us from across the globe, Lucy is a learning design specialist. Lucy, I'm just going to read out your bio, by the way, if that's okay, just verbatim, because I just can't learn it. So Lucy is a learning design specialist, coach, and a personal development expert. She has extensive experience in designing and delivering innovative learning programs that build resilience and positive work environments, allowing individuals and organizations to thrive in a time of constant change. Lucy has developed her skills over the past 2 decades working for organizations such as Google, you may have heard of them, Aircom and Aer Lingus, 2 other whoppers. And in 2015, she set up her own learning development consultancy called FullAeon. So, like I said, Lucy, you've been on my kind of hit list of speakers since I started this. So I'm very, very happy that you've been able to come and join us. So I'm going to hand it over to you. So take it away. If you just want to share, just steal the screen off me and
yeah.
favorites.
I'll put up some slides in a minute, but I'll stay
Cool.
on now. So thank you, John, and thanks for inviting me along to talk. I wish that we were in a physical space, drinking coffee and eating cake, but for now we are not, so this will have to do. I can't wait to get back to the physical space though, I really miss it. So yeah, thanks for the introduction, John. A little bit about me. I guess my longest running gigs have been that of a daughter and a sister, longest jobs. Then as later I moved on to being a friend and a girlfriend, and my most recent gig is that of a parent, and that's some mental ride. So I see kids has been trending in the chat. So yeah, so that's an interesting journey. I will touch on that a little bit later on. But as John says, primarily for work, I run a learning development company, FullAeon. So I say that I'm a learning designer, a facilitator, and a coach, but I do a lot of different things and I get involved in a lot of different projects. But I work with organizations to create positive work environments and build teams that are resilient and innovate and can thrive in times of change. And I also then work with individuals to do the exact same thing, to help them design a life that works for them and to manage the ups and downs that come with that. So that's what I do to make money, because the other jobs don't pay. And then other stuff that I'm interested in, if you want to get me engaged in animated conversation, there are quite a few topics you can talk to me about. Smashing the patriarchy is definitely up there. Cycling and all the wonders and joys of cycling, and the future of work is another big hit one for me. I'm really curious and interested about what's been happening over the last few months with COVID-19 and how that is really forcing us to think differently about how we work. So I could talk for hours about that as well. And there's a few other topics that I will touch on throughout this, so you'll learn a little bit more about me through the stories that I'll tell today. So when John sent me the topic, I was like, okay, where do I start here? What could I talk about? And then I realized I could probably talk about anything, so for a lot of time. So I started to think about insecurity, I guess, and my life over the last 5 years, and there's been a lot of changes in my life over the last 5 years, and kind of thinking about, well, when were the moments where I felt personally insecure versus when were the moments that I felt personally secure. And I kind of started to think about it in a kind of scale. I feel there's a scale from secure to insecure that we're on, and we all move up and down it at different times in our life depending on what we're at. And you'll be delighted to hear that I created a graph that you're going to get to see first thing on a Thursday morning. At least it's not Friday morning, right? But when I thought about this and I kind of documented it and graphed it, you're learning a lot about how my mind works here now as well. So as I plotted it and I looked back and reflected on it, there are kind of 4 areas where I kind of rated that impacted my feeling of security. So one was my knowledge, feeling secure or insecure in my knowledge and ability. Feeling secure or insecure in my finances. Feeling secure and insecure in my environment and in my physicality. And the last one was feeling insecure or secure in my beliefs. And that was one that was identified with two very particular instances. So I'm gonna talk you through my graph and tell you my story through the joy of a very boring graph, might I tell you, but hopefully it'll make sense for you when I do it. So just let me share my screen. Okay. So as I said, the four areas were my knowledge, ability, environment, finances, and beliefs. And this was just on reflecting on looking at it that I was like, okay, so this is kind of how I would bucket it. So let me just. So this is my beautiful graph. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail at all of it. So on the left, you've got the axis is from insecure to secure. And I know there are 100 million better ways of doing graphs, right? I'm just not a graph maker person. And along the bottom are the kind of things that, big things or interesting things that have happened to me over this period of time. There are some interesting things that are not documented here, and this is not to scale. So for example, from Google to launch FullAeon is about 6 months, whereas from there to the end is about 5 years, 4.5 years. So absolutely not to scale. But let me talk to you a little bit about the different parts of it and how I think about it. So I spent, as John mentioned, I spent time working in Google in Dublin, and I was there for nearly 10 years, and I could see the 10 years on the horizon, and I was like, oh, panic. I wanted to step out, and I knew for the last few years that I was there that I wasn't secure, that I didn't feel confident and happy, and that this was the place where I was to be. So while I was absolutely financially secure, and probably more financially secure than I've ever been in my life at this stage, my level of security still was quite, on the lower, starting to go to the lower end, because I didn't feel secure in what I was doing and that I was in the right place doing the right thing. So I made the decision to leave my job, to walk away without a plan, at least without a plan for work or making money. In the back of my head, I always had the idea that I wanted to set up my own business, but I didn't know what that was in or what I would be doing. So I left my job, and ironically, even though I walked away from a very well-paid job with lots of benefits, I did feel much more secure that I had made a good decision, and this was the right thing for me. And of course, I was only out of the job, so I had my savings, and I had kind of a buffer there in terms of finances. So when I left, I did a couple of different things. I went and I went to visit family in New Zealand and spent some time traveling by myself in Japan. And so, I still felt a level of security, but I was stepping outside of my comfort zone a little bit. And then when I come back, I had always been interested in the area of kind of sustainability, and wanted to explore, is that's something where I want to invest my time and energy and maybe set up something in. I got an opportunity to go away and to live on an organic permaculture farm for a few months. Which was great. It was a lot of time to reflect, and I really felt that I was doing something good for me. And I guess the only challenging thing there for me really was that I had to learn how to cook vegan, because I had to cook for people every third day, and I'd never really cooked vegan before. And then I bought myself a camper van, and I drove around Ireland for another 3 months. So it was a time where I was feeling very confident, very secure, very and this is the right thing for me to be doing in this moment in time. I was in my own country. I felt very comfortable and safe in a physical space. So this period was all quite good, and from a financial perspective, I wasn't so long out of my work that I was feeling the financial impact. And then I set up my own company, and you have that questioning comes in. It's like, can I actually do this? Do I have the knowledge? Do I have the ability? Can I make this happen? You know, am I going to get clients? So these concerns start to kick in. So it dropped off a bit, and then you get your first few clients, and it's great. But then you start taking on work that maybe you haven't done before, so you're questioning your knowledge and ability. So I kind of just outlined that first year, and to be honest, this could have been done for 2 years. This journey of going out by yourself and setting up on your own, that really played havoc with my sense of security. Just the highs were so high, but the lows were low in the sense, like, and you constantly had that worry about, will I be able to pay the bills? And that became prevalent. The further I got away from having that steady wage, you know, this was an ongoing thing. And by focusing on the business development, you're not so focused on the creative side of it and working with the clients. So it was this constant battle of trying to do it all. But I continued, and as I said, I've been running that it's been about 5 years now, and 5 years, and it's still, the ups are up and the downs are down, but the gap between the highs and lows is a little narrowing now as I get more comfortable with it. But then in the middle of this, I decided to move city. I had spent the last 15 years in Dublin, and I decided to return to Northern Ireland, which is where I'm originally from, and to move back to Belfast. So that was, again, all of a sudden, everything that you know, your friends, your networks, everything kind of gets hit a little bit, and my level of security goes down. But then you have the experience of coming to a new city and meeting new people and seeing new opportunities. So again, the security goes up. And then I decided to have a baby. And that brought me right back down. And the reason for this is that all of those 4 things, my knowledge, ability, and my environment, my finances, my belief systems, were all really challenged during this period of time. I didn't know what I was doing. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know if you're going to have the ability to do it. It's unrelenting. It keeps going. So it is quite challenging in that aspect. My environment changed. I no longer had my office in the house. I no longer had my bedroom. There was baby stuff everywhere. So even from a physical perspective, everything changed for me. My finances, while, you know, I was secure and I had enough for us, we had absolutely sufficient money to get through it. There was that in the back of my mind that I, for now, do not have the capacity to earn. And that, for the first time in my life, was very scary. And that leads me to my next bit about the challenging of my beliefs. As I said at the start, I am a feminist, all about smashing the patriarchy. I say jokingly, but it's kind of true. And I guess I always believed that there could be absolute equality. If the right people were at play, there could be absolute equality in a partnership between a man and a woman. And having a baby absolutely challenged this for me. And it's not necessarily to do with the people, but to do with the society that we live in and how it is built to really make that a very unequal space. And that really was very, very challenging for me. And it was a belief that I held and I knew to be true. And all of a sudden, here I am learning that, wow, this is it. it is very, very difficult to challenge that. And even from a physical perspective, I guess I was nursing my daughter, so you know there is a disparity there, and that was very challenging. And I think, you know, another belief for me, and we'll talk now, well, we'll go through, I'll go to the next stage and I'll come back to that. But then I returned to work, and I felt really confident, and I had some really great projects on the horizon, and I was just excited and happy to be engaging that part of me again. So I felt secure, and I felt, yes, you know, the next year is going to be good. And then COVID-19 happened. And I know for everyone, this happened, no doubt here. Everything that we knew to be true just absolutely kind of got pulled out from under us. How we work changed, how we live changed, where are we going to get money from, all of the four things that I identified. How do I have the ability to weather this storm? You know, to be in lockdown, to look after a kid and manage two jobs with my partner in the house. So absolutely floored me, and you know, thinking, can my business weather this? And so there's just so much insecurity here, and I know that everyone who's sitting out there, all of you felt that in some way. And another thing that I wanted to add here, you know, with we talked about challenging beliefs, and one of the things that I have been looking at a lot now, because again it's been pulled into focus for me, is around white privilege and challenging the belief that I am not biased or I am not racist. And that's another thing that's all of a sudden that's something I believed in, and now I have to question that. And it's another thing then that really impacts that security in who you are and what you're about. So this is my lovely graph, and I really just wanted to show you how I was thinking about this topic of insecure and secure. So then the question really becomes, is it possible to stabilize this? Can we have it not dip into the insecure side so much, right? And I don't know the answer to that question, but a lot of what I do in the work that I do is really about helping people get back up from the dip when we're down there, okay? And that's where I see that we can actually have some impact here. And the way that I like to think about this is portrayed in this lovely Malay proverb. A tree with deep roots laughs at storms. And it's that idea that storms are going to come, things are going to challenge us, things are going to really knock our sense of security and insecurity. But if we build deep and grow deep roots, then we will be able to weather the storm. It doesn't mean that we won't get knocked over by it. It doesn't mean that we won't lose parts of ourselves. But it means that even if we're near flattened, we can actually come back again. And that's where I think that it can be really helpful to invest our time and energy. So then how do we grow deep roots? And I guess the first thing is it takes time, right? Roots don't grow overnight. Doesn't matter what tree or plant that you have, they don't grow overnight. It takes time, it takes work, and it takes effort. So I come across a piece of research a few years ago that really stuck with me, and very luckily it uses the analogy of roots and trees as well, so quite beneficial in this space. And I want to talk to you through that a little bit now. I'm going to give you just a quick overview of it. And the piece of research was called Unlocking Human Potential, Proactive Practices for Individual Elasticity. So it is produced by the Deloitte University Press, and it was done by it's called Deloitte Center from the Edge. And essentially they're a research part of Deloitte that are really looking about the way we work. And I come across it in my work with the future of work and my interest here. And I will send the link to this afterwards as well. You'll be able to find it. I mean, you'll do a search. It's easy enough found. And they talk about this idea that in order to grow and to unlock our potential, so to speak, that we have to first turn the lens inwards, and we have to really explore and understand ourselves a lot more. And we don't do this as a one-off, we do this on an ongoing basis, okay? And they have a framework, and they talk about a framework that they have in this, and it's called the Roots and Shoots framework, which I thought was quite nice. And in each one, they have like different elements. So in the roots, they talk about you have to rest, you have to reconnect, reflect, and reframe. And then the shoots, so if you spend time cultivating the roots, then you go out into the world and you act, you amplify, you accelerate, and you adjust. So some of the actual things that they talk about in these spaces. So, yeah, the important part, this is ongoing. This is not a one-off thing. You must do this on a regular basis to continue to dig those roots down and to grow. So some of the actual things in the roots, they talk about practicing introspection. So really understanding what are your values, what's important to you, what are your belief systems, spending time really to understand that about yourself. Practicing mindfulness. And I mean, this is different for everyone. This is a practice that I have had on and off over the years. And, you know, when it came to that COVID-19, when I was feeling incredibly insecure, I did turn to breathing practice again. And that did help me. So that's another practice. Digital detox. Step back from the social media, from all of the distractions. And that's about reflecting. The amount of times, and I'm sure we find ourselves mindlessly scrolling and not even knowing why have I got the phone in front of me? What did I even come here to do? Okay, so really taking the time to step back. Journaling, and again, that's about really starting to understand yourself and to start to collect information about yourself, so to speak. Journals, I'm not a big journaler and I find it very difficult. I'm going to be straight up about that. But in the times that I have done it, it's very interesting to look back on it, because there's a lot of learning in looking back and understanding, first of all, where you've been and where you've come since then, but also to notice patterns and different things about yourself. And another big piece of this is cultivating your community, finding your people. Who are your people? And that's finding people who are interested in the same stuff that you're interested in, or maybe different things that you're interested in, like the Creative Morning community, getting to know, you know, it's difficult on Zoom, but in that physical space, you start to interact with a community of people who are brought together for a shared reason. And then in the shoots, they talk about taking action and getting comfortable with failure, doing things that scare you or you're a little bit afraid to do. Keeping a broad social network. So making sure that you are connecting with people who are not just the same as you. Connecting with people with different views, different perspectives, with different life experiences. Exploring new ideas and topics. So I guess that's that continuing learning journey, like to always be trying to learn something new or explore a new idea. And I quite like this one, to focus on the process and practice and not necessarily the outcomes. We can often be very goal oriented in the world that we live in, but a lot of the good comes from the journey and how did we get there. So this is one of the things that they say, is to turn it on, like, don't be so focused. You can be focused on the goal to get there, but it's achieving a goal isn't necessarily success. Doing it and working towards it is where the success actually is. Okay. So this was a really nice model that I liked, I think it's really interesting in terms of talking of that scale from secure to insecure. Okay, so I just realized the baby monitor is on in the room. So give me 1 second. Oh, sorry. But I feel like some of these things that they're talking about here, these are tools that can help us drag ourselves back up from that insecure space to really turn inwards. And then, you know, we could stay in the root space, right? Some of us are very introspective and reflective and to do good work there. But we have to take that out and we have to act in the real world, because otherwise then we get stuck in our head. So taking action is such an important piece as well. It's the interplay between these two sides. So that's, as an individual, some stuff that I personally have found useful, and I know through working with different people that this is a very effective way to address security. Then you can think, well, what can organizations do? And I was thinking about this in terms of the roots and shoots as well. But some of the stuff that I do with organizations in terms of building strong roots, first of all, let me say, create a space for people to get to know each other. So to create those networks, to build their community within their workspace. Identify values and behaviors associated and the behaviors associated with these. And that's kind of like, you know, the organization having that introspection, like what are our values, what is important to us. Create psychological safety, so people aren't afraid, that they can ask questions, and this leads to much more creativity and innovation. And so really creating a space where people feel secure is very important to dig your deep roots in an organization. And then I guess if we go back to the roots and shoots model, I think the shoots are setting expectations, being clear about what you're doing, where you're going, and who's doing what. Like really simple stuff, but very important. And communicate clearly and openly. So don't assume that people know things. You need to be constantly communicating clearly and openly. And that's how you as an organization can make your organization more secure and to really build strong roots so that you can weather the challenges and the storms that come along. So these things really can help, particularly around the security of maybe knowledge and ability. As well as security in beliefs. So it's spending time exploring this and understanding yourself. Environment, yeah, I guess that creating your community, it can give you more security in your environment and physical space. And I think from a financial perspective, it can work, but the financial security piece is one that I really think we need to address and look at in a separate way. Because if you are feeling financial, as an organization or as an individual, if you are feeling financially insecure, you don't have the headspace to do a lot of this stuff, right? If you're a business struggling to keep above water and to keep paying people, you're not going to take time out to sit and like, well, what are our values? And, you know, creating space for people to get to know each other, right? That's not what you're going to do. It's just you don't have the time for that. And it's the same with individuals. You know, if you are just you're on a hamster wheel of trying to keep food on the table, then you're not going to have the headspace to do that reflective work, to really spend time to get to know yourself a little bit more. So what about financial security? So this brings me to another area where I could talk to you for hours about. I don't know if anyone here has heard of it before, but I am a massive advocate for universal basic income. Okay, not to be mistaken as universal credit. Absolutely separate, different thing. Just wanted to clarify that. So what is universal basic income? Universal basic income is a stipend paid by the state that would enable every citizen to have a basic or decent life. Okay. It is universal. It is paid to everyone in the society. It is unconditional, so it's paid regardless of a person's circumstances. It's individual, so it gets paid to the individual and not households. It's substantial enough to live on. And it's permanent, right? It's non-withdrawable, it's secured by legislation. People have got it as something that they know that they have, okay? I come across universal basic income when I was living in Dublin, and the perspective that I come at it from two ends. I worked in technology for a long time and could see the impact that technology was having on, like automation was having on jobs. You know, when I worked in Google, in the time that I was there, I had about 7 different jobs, right? A number of those jobs got changed because it got automated, right? So I could see how automation was changing how we work. If we look into the broader world, you can see that certain jobs are disappearing because of automation. But I also come at it from a perspective of this idea that I was lucky enough to be able to walk away from that well-paying job and to spend time really figuring out what it is I wanted to do in the space that I wanted to go into. I was lucky. I had financial security to be able to do that. And a lot of individuals that I work with, often in a coaching space, you know, there's so many things that people want to try and want to do, but financial security is one that really stops us trying to explore and learn a little bit more and do something differently. So I learned about this universal basic income, and I joined an advocacy group in Dublin called Basic Income Ireland. And then when I moved to Northern Ireland, I attended an event around basic income. And in that group, a lovely woman, B, stood up and she said, we need to continue this conversation. Like, how are we going to continue this conversation? So from that moment, myself and a group of other people, we set up Basic Income Northern Ireland. So we now have an advocacy group in Northern Ireland. We meet every month. And this is something, ultimately what we want to do is to raise the awareness of universal basic income in Northern Ireland and ultimately work towards a pilot. That's where we want to go. And in fact, we have a petition for a recovery universal basic income in Northern Ireland at the moment. So we are proposing that there is a 2-month universal basic income set up for when all the other supports disappear after COVID-19. I'll send on the link so you guys can have a look at that. But let me talk to you about why UBI, like what are the benefits of it, okay? Ultimately, it creates a much fairer society where everyone can live with dignity. It encourages entrepreneurship. Imagine that you had the security of knowing that you could put food on the table, pay your rent, and put clothes on your back. What would you do? What would you try? It gives people the opportunity to access education. You know, you can go and you can learn and you can access education, again, knowing that you have that base level. It provides support for those in the social economy. So artists, volunteers, activists, social innovators that aren't currently valued by the labour market that we have, all right? It helps unemployed people get back to work. So if you are unemployed now and you even take on some part-time work, you lose benefits, right? With this system, you could take on a few hours a week and still know that you have your base level. It provides security for those in precarious work. And if we've learned nothing in the last few months, is that so many people are in precarious work situations, and those working in the gig economy, and those like working in in jobs that have the potential to be automated. So, and those in 0-hour contracts. So it provides a baseline security for that. It recognizes unpaid work. Those out in society, particularly those in the caring space, whether that's caring for young people or old people or people with needs, that is not recognized in our society at the minute. It improves quality of life. So it allows you to choose how you spend your time. And I just think, well, what would you do if you did have the time? And that's how I always ask people to think about it. If universal basic income existed, what would it enable for you? And it positively contributes to the climate crisis. And this, you can come at this from multiple directions. You might have less people traveling to physical spaces to work. if you didn't have to work in the job that you worked in, would you relocate? Would you, rather than living in a city, would you go back and live in a more rural area? So there's lots around this. So for me, this is where the whole thing comes back to, and where it comes together, is like, if we want people to feel security in all those other spaces, addressing the financial security piece would do a lot to get us to there. But yeah, so there is where my mind went when I talked about insecure. Thank you very much. You can find me as an individual and as a business on all the links on the left hand side. If you have any interest in learning more about Basic Income Northern Ireland and what we're doing, and just learning more about Universal Basic Income, you can visit us on Twitter, on Facebook. I will share the link to the research. I will share the link to the petition. And yeah, thank you for listening. If you have any questions in my random mind wanderings, please do ask them now, and I will answer anything that I can. I'm just going to stop sharing so that we have it.
That was Lucy. Thanks very much. Really appreciate it. I was hoping that you were going to talk about the universal basic income, because I was the one that went, oh yeah, universal credit, I've totally heard of that. And then you went, oh, no, that's not what it is. Don't be silly. And it sounds awesome and sounds fair more than anything. And what I think is kind of really interesting about it is, you know, you and I spoke about how, like, and you mentioned it there as well, about how, just imagine how much more creative and how much more brain power people would be able to use if they were able to remove that element of financial worry away.
Fear, it's a level of fear that stops us taking the steps.
Well, absolutely, and I would argue that, you know, 99.9% of the people that don't want to do or don't want to pursue a career or a life or a venture that they've been wanting to for the longest time probably can't and won't do it because of financial worry and insecurity and things like that, you know. So what's the next step with universal basic income? Like what's the kind of, you know, you said there's a petition there, you know. Yeah. Like tell us kind of how we could help, or if people are interested in moving it forward, like what can they do?
So it's very interesting. It's come to light so much in the last year even. One of the potential Democratic candidates in the US, Andrew Yang, was a big basic income or universal basic income advocate. So that's kind of raised the awareness there. In the tech space, they're talking about it for quite some time now and how important it is. But with COVID-19 and everything that's come with that, there's a real realization that as a society, we are going to be weathering certain storms, whether it's pandemics, whether it's environmental crises. So that security and how we live may not necessarily be there. What we are doing with Basic Income Northern Ireland, as I said, first of all, what I would say is look it up, read about it, learn about it, talk to people about it. It's a really interesting topic. I have, you know, when you talk about creating a community of people who think differently from you. I thought I had a community of people that all thought the same about me, and that was until I become an advocate for universal basic income. And it was one where people have really differing views on. Like some people are like, well, you can't just give money to everyone. That's just crazy. Even people who are making money. But that is that is the crux of it. It is universal. Okay, it is equal. So read up about it, learn about it. We have follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We'll put up different articles and different things, so you can learn from that. Join us for our basic income meetings. We're always delighted to have new people and to expand the conversation out. What we have at the minute is a petition for a recovery UBI. So this is essentially for everyone in Northern Ireland to get a universal basic income for 2 months after all the other kind of supports of COVID-19 fade out. In Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon is pushing, she wants a universal basic income set up for Scotland, or a couple of pilots set up there. Ultimately, we want to run a pilot in Northern Ireland. Okay, so we're going to look. We have our meetings. We're going to do more events over the rest of this year. But what I would really say, what you can do is just learn about it and talk to other people about it. Tell other people about it. It's just something that not everybody knows about. And that's the big thing for us at the minute, is that awareness piece.
Awesome. So does anybody else have any questions for Lucy? The talk was that good?
Yeah.
Lucy, take that as a compliment. Okay, so look, we're just give me 1 second here, and I will.
Actually, I'm gonna throw up the links. 1 sec.
Yeah, any links that you want us to kind of check out, or just fling them up there, and
just link up to the research that unlocking human potential and elasticity. And I'm gonna put up the link to the petition that we have out at the minute. So, oh, did that go? Yeah, it should do. If someone wants to click and let me know.
Lucy, thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it, and it was lovely to talk to you. And I hope to see you in a room.
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? It's like, what are they? Yeah. So, guys, just a couple more things from me. So, can everybody see the screen? Yeah. There we go. So, last month we had 30-second pitches. Nobody signed up. This week, we are happy to say that somebody would like to take the mic for 30-second pitches. Ruben, if you're in the house, I think I saw you earlier on. If you want to just kind of unmute yourself there and take the mic.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes. Here, is no one signed up to this? Oh, guys, this is my first.
You've broken the mold, so you're now the trendsetter for Belfast. So you've opened the floodgates.
Amazing. Well, here, guys, get on to it. Here, mine's probably not a 30-second one. It's probably a 15-second one. But
that's okay.
Yeah, so I work for sort of a ad agency. I do paid advertising, and I was furloughed there for about a month or two. With my furlough, sort of started building a few little side projects. One of them was a newsletter. So I've just started a newsletter. It's about business, marketing, and just about all the little things I'm up to. So we'd love you guys to maybe check it out, subscribe. You can also just check May's newsletter if you'd like. And if you just use the link rubenmcfeeters.com/CreativeMornings, you can sign up, or just at least see it. If you're interested, yeah, subscribe. That'd be great.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Ruben, do you want to drop the link into the chat there as well, just so we can share it? And I'll share it as well on all the socials, on the Googles and all that stuff as well. So
yeah, please note it's very lighthearted and
good.
Not very serious.
Good. Well, listen, thanks very much for that. Is there anybody else that would like to pitch anything? Nope. Okay, grand. Well, we move on. Look, by popular demand, the Wheel of Names is back. Yes. And by popular demand, I mean me.
Are we going to see it this time? I missed it last week, last month.
Yes, we're going to see it this time. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. So let me just figure it out. Here is the Wheel of Names in all its glory. The rules are UK only apply. Sorry, international folks. If you've won before, you cannot win again. So sorry, Mark, and sorry, Kieran. If you are working for a sponsor or have any kind of association or affiliation, or if you're married to me, you cannot win. Sorry. We're going to roll the Wheel of Names. It's a £20 gift voucher for the Pocket, one of our sponsors as well, or one of our partners too. We've been doing lots of awesome stuff and providing kind of tea and coffee to all the frontline workers for free the whole way through the pandemic, or the whole way through lockdown. And they've just opened up again. There are 2 stores, so please, if you're in town, swing by, because the coffee is really nice. Johnny Willis will agree to that, I'm sure. So look, let's spin the wheel. Spin. Go on. Oh, here we go. Oh, it's all very exciting. It's all very exciting. Who's going to be? Don't know. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, we have to spin it again. So we're going to have to spin the wheel again because Brendan McGoran works for the Belfast City Council, who are one of our sponsors. Sorry, Brendan. No cigar. So let's spin it again. This is great fun. This is the best fun I've had all week. Maybe like lessen the time that it actually takes to spin. It feels like 20 minutes. But here we go. Who is it? Who is it? Is it gonna stay? Oh. Congratulations. You have just picked up yourself £20 worth of pocket vouchers. I already have your email, so I will send it on to you either today or tomorrow. But congratulations. Well done, Claire. Very good.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Not a bother. Enjoy. So that's it, everyone. That is it for pretty sad the way the names is over. By the way, this is a progress, obviously. Any suggestions, you can fling them in the chat. But look, that's it, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you to our local sponsors, Big Motive and Belfast City Council, The Pocket and K's and Print as well, who do all this lovely stuff. Hopefully when we start meeting in person, you'll be able to see more of the awesome work that they do, and we'll have lots of coffee and food and breakfast from The Pocket. So hopefully sooner rather than later. And that's it. That's it for now. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. I know everybody's getting a bit Zoom fatigued and all that. But if you keep coming, we'll keep putting them on. There's all socials. Follow us, share us, like us, tell everybody about us. Because the more, like I say, the more of you that come, the more inspiring it is